That's the first thing they told me in Moscow. You never do. That's a giveaway. They cannot lose sight of you, okay? Somebody needs to see you at all times, because the moment you're clear, you could be doing something and they're not aware of it. Now, one caveat for today, the CIA know how to make faces that look like real people. Now, what you focus on now is two things.
Let's get into some of your operational training on tradecraft. So can you explain, I guess a good one to start with is surveillance detection routes, or SDRs.
Yeah, there was actually in Berlin, surveillance detection was horrendous. The person that I worked with by the name of Nikolai, he didn't have good training. He gave me some ideas. You got to walk around in the city and you can't turn around like this, but you could walk towards a display window of a department store so you can see who is following you. That's the first thing they told me in Moscow. You never do, because that's a giveaway. So you're supposed to, when you do surveillance detection, you're supposed to do something that you wander around in a city, take public transportation, go in and out of buildings and walk. There cannot be any motion, any action that could be considered proof that you're an agent. So it has to be normal, even though it's not normal to wander around in the city for like 3 hours, go from here to there, to there, to there, but it's not proof. There's indirect proof that this guy is like checking on himself, but it can't hold up in the court of law. So you would not be arrested by knowing or guessing that you were on a surveillance detection route. Okay, so and the training was superb in Moscow. I was my mentor, my coach was the guy who was in charge of that department in the first directorate. That's espionage. And he showed me he showed me around, and he said what to do and what not to do. And the first thing he said, don't ever do that walking towards a window. And he gave me some hints. He also was a master in something he didn't teach me, but he took in misdirection. And that wasn't surveillance discovery. He told me, just follow me from a little distance, like 30 feet, and watch what I'm doing. And so he was walking around a little bit and said nothing. Then we went backwards. There was a flower bed elevated, and he had put a cartridge. He stuck a cartridge into the soil there. I must have looked that way for some reason. He was a magician. So, but that wasn't part of the training. So, and also what they tried to teach me is surveillance detection by vehicle. So I learned how to drive in Moscow, but in heavy traffic, and then paying attention who might be following you, that's too dangerous. We stopped this. So it was on foot, public transportation, escalators, elevators. My favorite places were big stores, department stores where you can go this way and that way and turn around because, it's haphazard, and you don't have to buy anything. Museum of Natural History, very few people in there. A lot of hallways with not too many people, but you can also walk in and out this way, that way. And my absolutely favorite spot where it never failed that I would see somebody following me. So I'm going down. So I had to know the city really well. I knew every subway stop. I mean, the city better than most people who were born and raised there. And that was the rule. And when I came to New York, same thing. The city was my playground. So I'm walking down a road that's downhill and it's curving to the left. And at the bottom of that hill, there was a phone booth. And if you wanted to make a phone call, you have to walk in and turn that way because the phone was pointing in the other direction. And so the bottom line was, if you and I had in those days, I had an incredible memory for faces. That was my advantage over the team. Usually, the team was 8 to 10 people following you with a lead change, because if one guy is, they cannot lose sight of you. Okay, somebody needs to see you at all times, because the moment you're clear, you could be doing something and they're not aware of it. It could even just be a chalk mark or something like that. So there was always, like, whether I was in an elevator or in a store or in the subway, there had to be somebody close by, waiting for a bus at a bus stop. So, and I was always scanning the people, and if I saw the same face twice, I knew that I was being followed. The tougher challenge was to determine that you were not being followed, because you couldn't prove a negative, right? But over time, I had confidence in knowing that I would detect the surveillance, and there were about, I forgot, 6, 7, 8 exercises where I was competing with a team. My handler, my liaison would show up at the apartment any given morning and said, "Time to check." And let's say it was 6 at the end, when we were all done and I was declared to be fully prepared. The score was 6-0 in my favor. And the guy who was my mentor there, he said I was one of the best students, which helped me later on to determine whether I was being followed by the FBI and or the KGB. Because when we weren't going to get to that, when they thought I was being followed, I determined that not to be true, because I was very, very certain in my ability to detect surveillance. Now, one caveat for today: the CIA, and I don't know if other intelligence agencies know how to make faces that look like real people. There was a couple in the CIA. The husband is not with us anymore, but I met the wife, Jonah Mendez, and she, it was at a conference, she showed pictures of herself as a black male. And that face can be put on in a couple of minutes, and it's indistinguishable from a human face. Now, what you would focus on now is 2 things. Gait, that's very difficult to change, and footwear. It's harder to, everything else, what you wear, that you can change it real quick, but, shoes, but people forget about that. So there's still the ability to do this, and then there's the other thing, there's surveillance cameras all over the place, and with the advent of AI, you can actually scan all of that material. Before you couldn't, there's too much. But with AI, if you have access to the footage, which may be a problem too, there's stores that have surveillance cameras, you can't force them to hand this over. So there's still a way to defeat surveillance, but it's not as good as it used to be.
What's up, guys? Thank you so much for taking the time to watch the interview. If you got anything out of this video at all, please like the video, leave me a comment, tell me what you thought of the video, tell me who you'd like to see on the show. I really appreciate the support. It goes a long way on these platforms, as you guys know. Most importantly, I have some excellent interviews coming up in the future that I'm really, really excited about. So please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of them. But that's it. Thank you for your support. I really appreciate it, and hope to see you again soon.